Alright, another Scream Fortress has arrived. We got new hats, new maps, new taunts, more unusual effects. Par for the course, but hey, everyone's excited about this. We got a great new batch of content to play with. Morbius, everyone's favorite meme from 2022, is now immortalized in the game. Optimus Prime has rolled out of Spawn.
Dr. Eggman is ready to face down those pesky blue hedgehogs.
God, I can't wait to dive in and try out this new content. I look forward to playing the new contracts every year. Oh, okay, well, that's fine, I'll just try again. Alright, awesome, we got a match, perfect. Oh hey, Afterlife, the new V-Script arena map everyone is really excited about. Oh, is it broken? Alright, no worries, I'll just queue for a new game. Alright, great, different map this time, it's time to play... Oh, the game's over. No problem, I'll just re-queue again. Okay, this is a problem, but we already know what causes this. We already know that every time Valve updates this game, the matchmaking system breaks, and you simply can't play the new content for a good while. We already know that the content contained within these updates varies so wildly in quality that it's either pretty good or literally unplayable. We already know that outside of update season, casual mode, more often than not, provides a frustrating, disruptive experience for new and old players alike. Players are constantly re-queuing for games that last less than 5 to 10 minutes, queuing out of one-sided stomps, queuing out of half-empty or completely empty servers. We get placed into games that are 2 minutes away from ending. We get placed into servers after a game ends. We have broken pre-round timers, glitchy slot reservations, and auto-balance keeping team sizes uneven. The crummy party system that makes it a chore to play with friends. We disconnect from the game coordinator for no apparent reason. We have dead maps, dead game modes, the list goes on. If you think I'm being hyperbolic, I'm not. This is not broken or dysfunctional in any kind of exaggerative sense. When most updates arrive, TF2 literally breaks. It is often impossible to play the new content, either because the servers break or the content itself breaks. I honestly can't remember the last time we had a seasonal update where this did not happen. Versus Saxton Hale was unplayable for 3 weeks after launch. Zombie Infection was a buggy mess with missing assets on launch. Some of the new maps for every update always have something wrong with them, ranging from screwed up textures to game-breaking bugs to dropping 100 frames by simply looking in a different direction. Thanks to the matchmaking system, anytime Valve touches the game, the servers break. You often can't even queue for a server when the updates drop, and this lasts for days or even weeks at a time. Hell, last year's Scream Fortress was unplayable for about a month because of the abysmal queue times. And it took Valve just as long to slap a band-aid on the problem, which clearly didn't solve anything because here we are, 1 year later, experiencing these same queue times again. Just for a moment, imagine if this happened in GTA 5. Imagine if a GTA 5 update launched and for 2 weeks you just couldn't complete new missions, or they didn't work. What else would you call this other than the game breaking? War Thunder is another example of an old game that still receives updates. Gaijin often pushes broken updates, but the players complain, and they eventually fix these issues down the line. What Gaijin doesn't do is leave issues in the game to break again with each and every update. Is it not normal to expect at least some degree of effort? Especially for what could be considered the bare minimum level of maintenance to keep a game going? In my opinion, TF2 is not in a good spot right now, and hasn't been for a long time. It doesn't deserve the lack of care it's being subject to, despite it still earning Valve tens of millions of dollars a year. There's not much out there getting players excited about the game anymore, at least not for long, because any excitement we have for new content quickly turns to disappointment. The new content we receive is effectively guaranteed to have something wrong with it. If I was a new player, and this was my first major update experience, yeah, that wouldn't get me excited about the game's future. That wouldn't make me eager to come back to the game. In fact, it would harbor the opposite reaction. If you look at the last few years of player data, long-term trends show that players are slowly bleeding out. Players aren't staying. New updates breaking, which compound with the matchmaking system's dysfunctionality, will keep getting worse, especially as more players leave, as more maps are added, and the remaining player base gets stretched even thinner. More game-breaking bugs will keep rising to the surface every single time Valve touches that rushed, disappointing matchmaking system. I explained why in great detail in my last major video. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with me on what needs to be done about TF2's situation. The issue right now is that no one is really making any concerted efforts to do anything about this, let alone address it. Only the players in game chat and some of the Reddit community are having anything resembling a public discourse about this. There's a bit of dread washing over the community right now. None of the really popular YouTubers are uploading. Even Reddit's response to the last couple of updates was quite morose. So, is this it? Is this ever going to change? How long does this need to go on for, and how much worse does this need to get? How many more flashbacks to VScript Saxton Hale's launch? How many repeats of new content getting hyped up that just completely doesn't work? How much more until something gives and we all say something about this? Will TF2 keep receiving broken updates in 2026, 2028, 2030? What needs to happen before we have a serious conversation? This is not okay. This should not be happening, especially when a company like Valve is at the helm. I think it's safe to assume that we all love this game and want what's best for it. If we seriously care about TF2's longevity, something that Valve clearly wants, otherwise they would have shut down the servers years ago, it's time for the player base to figure out what the consensus is on all of these problems and what we can do about it.
I don't think anyone at Valve even plays TF2.
Love and Lore TF2 is hands down my favorite game of all time, no contest, but modern TF2 doesn't even crack top 20.
They don't lobby up with the other developers to try and rank up in matchmaking, and they certainly don't play man versus machine in their free time.
Maybe it's the community, maybe it's the state of the dev team, maybe it's me just being jaded.
TF2 is really starting to prioritize quantity over quality.
And as a result, they don't focus on if the experience of the game is actually fun, balanced, fair.
I remember a time when every new map and game mode was something to be celebrated.
So how would we expect them to be down with handling the intricacies of how TF2 works as a video game without communicating with us?
The issue that both I and I think a lot of other people that I know have with casual, though, is that it doesn't really feel fun a lot of the time.
See, now that casual is actually back, we get to deal with casual problems again.
The balance is pretty whack. It feels like some people are trying way harder than others.
Hey, guess what? Team stacks aren't just an Uncle Topia thing. I feel like we all kind of forgot that.
The game modes either stall out or finish extremely quickly, forcing you to re-queue or just be locked in a stalemate forever.
Ooh, Frontier. Cool.
Shout it from the mountaintops, baby.
Thunder Mountain.
Server is changing level.
Wait, it actually is.
Also, what? The game just ended! What the fuck is this shit? I have to vote for a map?
Yeah, a lot of the time when you casual queue, you'll get into a game at the end of the game because that's when everyone leaves to find a good game.
The problem is that the fucking casual matchmaking server sucks. The matchmaking algorithm is fucking cooked.
And there are plenty of issues just with that kind of balancing that I think would need to be fixed for TF2's what is essentially the main mode of the game to be in a playable state.
No, I'm actually completely on board there. I think it was the removal of quick play was a huge fuck up.
God damn, I miss quick play.
What I'm suggesting is after 5 years or 6 years or however long of it been gone, we bring back quick play.
We all agree that there are problems. All of us. Why aren't we talking about this more? I think most of us agree that Valve should treat TF2 better. And listen, we know TF2 is 18 years old. We know expecting Valve to give it the same level of attention as they did in 2010 is foolish. We also know that TF2 will never be the same as it was in its glory days. Nobody is really asking for this. We just want to not be disappointed by the game breaking every single time Valve drops an update. Updates that they don't even make, their players make it for them. If Valve is really wanting to sunset this game, made very apparent by their release of the SDK and the indefinite status quo that we've been in for 8 years, at the very least, they can leave TF2 in a state that's consistently enjoyable to play, and make sure that whatever new content they add doesn't make the game literally impossible to play. TF2 TF2 deserves more than a handful of Reddit posts or niche figures addressing these kinds of problems. The kinds of problems that affect minute-to-minute gameplay, that affect the persistently shambling update model that Valve will seemingly be maintaining indefinitely into the future. This should be really important for those who care about how TF2 is going to be remembered, or anyone that still wants to play TF2 as the years creep on. Do we really need another year's worth of broken updates? Do we really need to hemorrhage more players? Do we really need to wait for the potential catastrophe that a slapdash MVM update might look like? With how the past 3 years of update launches have gone, can we really honestly say that we expect Valve to prepare their matchmaker for MVM? Are they really going to accommodate an influx of players or anything that resembles a smooth rollout? I certainly don't think they will, and I don't know how you could either. But we have the power and influence to get things changed. We've done this before. Whenever we talk about bad hats and skins, we sometimes get better hats and skins. When we asked Valve to unmute free-to-plays, they mostly unmuted free-to-plays. When we complained about too much holiday content, specifically maps, we got summer updates. We complained loud enough about the bots, and it seems like Valve listened and actually did something. Complaining works. Raising alarm works. It is long overdue for everyone to acknowledge how Valve treats this game. Simply brushing this to the side is only going to make these problems worse. Exactly what needs to be done about these problems, we can argue that until Kingdom Come, but can we at least start? Some of us have, thank God. Wheezy, for example, is raising alarm about the MVM update. He's pointing out that Valve can't just pick whatever maps have pretty thumbnails and toss them into the game. I think it's a perfectly acceptable expectation for a game company to always playtest new content before releasing it, instead of offloading that responsibility onto the players and then retroactively fixing any problems that arise. That alone would greatly improve the seasonal update cycle. Look, it's pretty obvious that a distaste for the state of the game passively permeates throughout most of its players, more so now than during any previous point in TF2's history, aside from the launch of Meet Your Match, of course. It's not a niche or uncommon opinion that the matchmaking system sucks. It is deeply flawed and hurts this game. At some point in the last decade, every notable person you can think of has said something about the dismal state of the game. It's hardly anything brave or daring to say at this point, and yet, since 2017, virtually nothing has been done about this. Other issues defiling the game in recent years have brought about multiple meetings of the minds, where people who can and want to make a difference have coordinated to try and make Valve do something. Now I admit, I have been critical of these things. If you know anything about me, you know I don't exactly see eye to eye with a solid chunk of the TF2ber crowd. That didn't exactly change when so many of them wound up in the driver's seat of these digital campaigns. So I'm not presenting myself as a saint. I'm not gonna pretend that I've likely not made certain community efforts a little bit harder through my scrutiny. I can only hope that people believe me when I say it was never the act itself of lobbying to improve the game that I ever want to discourage. That act is absolutely necessary. But what I will present to you is myself. Someone that has spent thousands of hours playing TF2, spent tens of thousands of my own money on it over the course of 15 years. I've built a sizable YouTube channel off of this game. I've made lifelong friends in the game. Even my current girlfriend came as a result of my interactions with the player base. And I do know for a fact that there are plenty of other people who give a damn about TF2 with a similar intensity. People who want something to be done. This is my video attempting to reach those people. Just for one occasion, for one moment in time, I would like for all of us to put aside any contentions you have about me, have about what I've said, and just hear me out from one person who cares deeply about this game, about its longevity and its legacy to another. I am damn well sure that if nothing happens to fix these problems with matchmaking, or if the level of care we receive does not improve, TF2, this game that is so deeply important to millions of people, is going to have the last leg of its life defined not by a beautiful sunset like it deserves, but by a whimper. A whimper that is a ham-fisted series of automated updates, smashing in more and more gigabytes of borderline unplayable or broken content, until it eventually becomes impossible for players to connect to an official server. I don't know if I'm coming off as dramatic, but even if this game was not running on the Source engine from 2004, Valve's current update model going forward would still be unsustainable. I genuinely fear that TF2 will be the first online game to literally grow so big with content that its vascular system can't pump enough blood to keep it alive. This is already happening in low population regions like Australia, Oceania, and it's only going to get worse. We may all watch TF2 drop dead in front of us in the next 4 to 5 years, despite Valve still offering the game as live and pumping in more content. And the worst part is that it's not that hard to improve these things and stop that from happening. It doesn't take that much work. Other YouTubers like Lister have illustrated that there is a small series of steps that Valve could take that would immediately help stop a good amount of the bleeding. This won't happen unless something starts moving. I don't know what else I can say to get things going. If you're a viewer of mine that's been holding out hope that the last 2 years I've spent bitching at Valve would rub off on some people and maybe lead to something shifting in the game, I just gotta say I'm honestly at my wit's end on how to push these issues on my own anymore. I really feel like I've done just about everything that I can. Streaming every update, reporting on the bugs and the matchmaking system issues, that didn't help. I can't even play the fucking game! Fuck!
This game makes them hundreds of millions of dollars. You have to remember that.
Making a 4-hour documentary about this that got promoted by people as huge as fucking Pyrocynical, that didn't help. Streaming every month, if not multiple times a month, to highlight good and high quality content for Valve to select. That did make a little bit of a dent, but that wasn't a complete solution. We also have smaller respected channels doing their own analyses and coming to the same conclusions as I have, and that hasn't seemed to help either. We are exactly where we were 9 years ago. So forgive me if I sound a bit bitter, but from where I sit, it really seems like it's up to the other voices in the TF2 community. Those who have their own social capital completely divorced from whatever baggage I have, to pick up this torch and try to wake up the rest of the room. And if the community doesn't activate, if those YouTubers that in this current fucked up arrangement have become basically the representatives of this entire fucking game instead of the players themselves, if those YouTubers stay quiet, in the next few years, I fear there won't be much left to fight for. So long as Valve offers TF2 as a playable, monetized product, we have the right to campaign for better. Its age does not matter. Its lack of revenue does not matter. This is Valve, the company that was once heralded as pioneers of the gaming and tech industry. Their ironclad reputation was well-deserved. But how they treat Team Fortress 2, one of their flagship games, one of the greatest and most beloved games ever made, is nothing short of pathetic. It is long overdue for all of us to have this conversation.
I can tell the difference between things from my youth that suck now, things from my youth that are still great, and then things from my youth that I didn't understand, but now I find great. So this whole, come on guys, things never actually get worse. It's just your nostalgia goggles, this type of thinking. This is really good rhetoric when you want to progressively violate and extort your cult members.
It's just like, what the fuck, bro? The game is broken every 3 months and no one cares. It's like, that's actually insane. No other game is like that. No other game that makes this much money is like that. No game that makes a quarter as much as money. This game is like that.